Hi, my name is JOSIAH O'POLKA. I'm from Ankeny, Iowa, and even though we like to normally do these in the bags outside, we are stuck inside with the cold temperatures that we have here in Ames, Iowa. A little background about me. I found disc golf back in 2017 when I transferred to Iowa State. I joined the club team, was playing just on the side for fun, and then as I got a little bit more into it, I found the PDGA. I started playing a little bit more competitively. I played rec for a little bit and then moved up to advanced, and then in the start of 2018 I ended up playing pro and had some success from the start. So 2018 and 2019 I was playing pro. In 2019 I graduated from Iowa State, which really limited the amount of success that I would like to have had early on. But after I graduated, I found myself having some success near the end of the season. I ended up having a couple B tier wins, and I finished with 3 C tier wins, and had one of my best tournament averages at the end of the season in 2019. So definitely looking for some growth and to continue off of that moving into 2020. And obviously the discs that I have here are what have helped me with that success. So we'll just get into those and what I'm bagging. We'll start off with my putting putters. Ever since I got, I guess another background about me. I currently represent Team Millenium, and then I also represent Team Titan, which is a local shop here in Des Moines, Iowa, and they also have a shop in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So check out both Millenium and Titan. So the putters, when I first got picked up, I switched to DT Omegas, and I never even tried anything else. They've been working really well for me. They're very straight to just a little bit of stability, so I can trust them in almost all wind conditions, and I'd say putting is definitely my strength, and it's because of the quality plastic that these have. Next is I bagged 2 DT Omega drivers. This one is my team stamp, and it's a little bit more beat. It's very straight, and then I also have a fresh new orange one, and this one's got a little bit more stability. For you that don't know much about Millenium, the Omega driver is the same, well, not the same old, but very similar to an AVR3. So it's a very straight to stable throwing putter, and this DT plastic is the equivalent to DX, so it beats in very well, and they're very good in the wind. And then the last is I bag a Color Glow AVR X3. The thing I like about this AVR X3 is it's very stable. I can throw it in almost any wind condition, both backhand and forehand, and I can rely on a nice stable finish every time. Next we'll get into our mid-ranges. I actually do not bag very many mid-ranges. I had a mortar in the bag for a while, but when I switched to the Carlton bag, I was looking at the molds I could get rid of, and I find myself throwing the AVR X3 on the majority of the shots that I would throw with the mortar, so I ended up taking it out of the bag. But for the mid-ranges, I bag 3, and I'll start with the least stable and go to the most stable. I bag a Sirius MS. It's a very, very straight disc. It can hold almost any line I want, so if I put it on a little anhyzer, it'll be that perfect left to right shaping shot. Otherwise, if I hit it flat, it'll fly straight forever. It's a great disc, and I love throwing it in the woods. Then I have a factory second Color Glow Rock 3. I love the Rock 3. It's a good complement to the MS because it's also a very straight disc, but it's got a little bit more fight there at the end that I know if I need it to go straight for a while but then still dump, it's gonna finish for me consistently. And then lastly is a Glow MD3. It's a fairly stable MD3 that I know if I hit it hard, it's not going to turn over on me, and it's always going to have a reliable, stable finish. And now moving on to my fairways. I'll do this in the same order that I did my mid-ranges, so I'll go from least stable to most stable. First we have a Sirius Aries. For you that don't know much about the Aries, it's a very understable fairway driver. I would say it's around that 9 speed or so. It's very perfect for turnovers and touchy wood shots if you know you can't throw a disc super hard but you need to get a hyzer flip. If I wanted to, I could roll it, but I'm not a huge roller thrower, and I'm also not a huge turnover thrower. I like the forehand, but there's certain shots that it's nice to have a turnover disc, and I like having this. Next I have a Sirius JLS. A JLS is a very straight flying disc, a little understable still. I know I could hyzer flip it through the woods or even a little bit drift to the right. It might come out of it, but very understable disc. I use this a lot in the woods. Then next I have actually two OLSs. These are some of my favorite discs. I would recommend this to anybody from beginner to expert. Any sort of ability could use these discs. They're very neutral flying. For those that have a little bit slower arm speed, it would be a perfect distance driver for you because it still has some stability in it. But for those that have a little bit bigger arms, they'll hyzer flip to straight, and they will hold those lines for a very long time. When it comes to wooded courses, I find myself throwing the OLSs a lot. And like I said, I would recommend these to anybody. Next is the Sirius Orion LF. I'll compare it to a Innova disc again. This would be like your Star Thunderbirds. Sorry, it's a little bit rough there. The Thunderbirds, it's a straight to stable disc that it'll fly straight for a while, but then it'll also come out at the end, and it's a great disc to throw in the woods or when I know I need something to go straight, but there's a little bit of a wind and the OLSs can't handle it. This will handle it. Next is a Star T-Bird. I guess I probably should have done that one before the Thunderbird, but it's a great complement between the OLS and the OLF. This one will be a little bit straighter and have a little bit more forward finish than the OLS, but not as much of a finish as the OLF. And then lastly would be this was my 2019 Signature Series Draco. The Draco is a new mold that Millenium came out with in 2019, and it's the older run of the Firebird. I'm not entirely sure which run it is, but whatever run it is, it's a very stable run because no matter the wind conditions, if I need something to finish left on a backhand or right on a forehand, I throw this disc and I can rely on it being stable in the wind. Now moving on to my drivers. I only bag 5, and I actually only bag one mold, and that is the Scorpius. When I first found Millenium, the Scorpius was one of the discs I knew, as most people do, but what I didn't realize is the different runs and what they can do, and it's nice to have just one mold in the bag for drivers. It makes consistency in the hand, and I know when I'm reaching for a disc, it'll fly different than the others, but the hand will feel the exact same way, which is perfect for me. So the least stable is a Sirius 1.7. This disc is probably my farthest flying driver. I can hit it on a little hyzer and I'll get a full flight out of it. I don't throw it forehand too much just because it doesn't quite have the torque resistance as the other. But if I have an open field and I'm looking for distance, I will be reaching for this disc. Next would be a first run Sirius Scorpius. This one is 168 grams, but don't be fooled by the light weight. It's still got a lot of stability to it. I can find myself throwing this one flat and knowing that it's still going to come out of it. It won't turn over, and this one's probably my farthest flying forehand disc just because I can hit it on a little hyzer, it'll flip up, and then still always finish. Then next would be a Color Glow Scorpius. This one and my first run have a lot of similarities. They both flip up and can go a long ways, but also have some stability. They complement each other very well. And then lastly would be my 1.8s. I have actually one of my old Signature Series, which you can tell I use this disc a lot based on the stamp being wiped. And then this was the very first team stamp I ever received from them back in 2018. These are my go-tos in the wind. They're very stable, and I know for a fact they're never going to come out of it. So these are very stable discs. And that goes through all the discs that I have in my bag.
Awesome. So Josiah, for the viewers at home, you want to tell us what your rating is, and did that vary at all over the summer?
Yeah, so I'm currently rated 992. I finished the 2018 season at 992 as well, but I took a very quick drop at the beginning of 2019. I ended up getting down to around the 980, which was just due to being very busy with graduating school and applying for jobs. After I ended up finding a job and graduated, it gave me a lot more time to practice, and I got to my current rating of 992, where I hope to break that 1,000 here in 2020.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. Some things that we ask everyone that do In the Bags on Drop Zone. What was the first disc you ever threw?
So the first disc I ever threw would be a Star Eagle. It was one of those things when I first found disc golf. It was my buddy gave me a Star Eagle, and that's what I started throwing. And it was it was actually hard to tell what it was because the stamp was so faded and it was so old. And I remember getting my first replacement and I was so excited and realized that it flew nothing like the one I had because it was used and abused.
And lastly, if you were to have a like a star card, 3 other people, pros or friends, who would they be?
I would definitely pick Big Germ and Nate Sexton. I watch Jomez all the time, and hearing their commentary, I feel like they'd be a good group of dudes to play with. And then obviously I'd like to play with Paul Macbeth. I'm a big Macbeth fan, and I think playing on his card would be fun just to see some of the things he can do with the disc in his hand.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this, Josiah. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
I think that'll be all.